Okay, so welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Victoria. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. So tell the listeners a little bit about you and how your journey, how did you get to the point where you are right now?
Oh, that is such a good question. All right. Boy, it kind of depends on where you start in this process, but I'm going to take you back to about 25 years ago when I was a financial consultant. I was kind of like, I thought living the dream. It was the dream that I had, years before that. And I was making a six-figure income. I had a great house, had a great husband, great body, great car, great everything you can imagine. I thought I had it all made. I thought that was going to be the job that I was going to retire at. And then lo and behold, I like after being in that position for like 6 years as a financial consultant, living a great life, I just like couldn't get out of bed one day, and I just was stuck and I just like I don't want to make one more phone call. Like I just like kind of realized I was burnt out and I just didn't want to do it anymore and I didn't know what I was going to do because when I got into that profession, I had no college degree. So, I was a little further along financially for just, being able to go and just get another six-figure a year job. It took a lot to get to that point, all sales. So it led me to a self-discovery process where I went to a personal development seminar. And in the seminar, we did a lot of closed eye work, visualizations, meditations, things like that. And it was during these closed eye techniques that my eyes opened, where I kind of realized that, that's what I wanted to do is I wanted to help other people to wake up. And I wanted to help other people to get unstuck. I wanted to help other people in this way, and had been actually making some little recordings for myself every once in a while, and I really liked, honestly, the sound of my voice, which is, unheard of for a lot of people. But for me, I really liked making the recordings. I had a boyfriend at the time who owned a recording studio. So I went in and I made some recordings, and I'm like, I think I want to make these recordings that people can do in the comfort of their own home where they don't have to, go anywhere for 4 days to discover themselves. And they can discover themselves in the comfort of their own home and they can achieve their goals and their dreams and whatever it is that their hearts desire. And I didn't know exactly what it looked like to make these properly. And so I kind of began to search there and stumbled upon hypnotherapy in the process. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I need. And so I signed up for certification training. It was happening in like just a couple of weeks from the moment that I stumbled upon it and got certified. And before you know it, I was starting my website, making my recordings. My branch manager, where I was the financial consultant, gave me an ultimatum and told me that I needed to make a decision. And so I had to quit my six-figure a year job and start my no-figure a year uh, career. And just kind of sink or swim, make it or break it, as they say. And so that was back in 1999. And that's when I started my hypnotherapy website and quit my job and actually started seeing people live one-on-one in person.
Okay, so you talk about hypnotherapy. For the people who are listening out there, what exactly is hypnotherapy? What is that?
So, hypnotherapy is where you are communicating with the subconscious mind. Just to give you an idea for those who don't know even that much, you have your conscious mind, which is kind of like more your awake, conscious, the part of you that's really conscious of what you're doing right now. And then you have the underneath that is your subconscious mind that is in control of, all of your bodily functions, your long-term memory, your emotions, your habits, and all of your beliefs. And everything basically is contained in that subconscious mind. And so, for people who, have any kinds of habits or emotions or anything that they're stuck on, you need to go into the subconscious mind in order to reprogram that part of the mind, reprogram the beliefs and the thought patterns and the habits and all of that, so that you begin to think like a different person, feel like a different person, and act and behave like the person with those habits.
Okay. So the subconscious mind is kind of like a computer where you need to take the hard drive out and replace it with a new hard drive.
I love that analogy. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. That's a wonderful way of saying it. We talk about computer and software all the time when we're referring to the subconscious mind, and it very much is like that. Um, you know, how you program it is ultimately what's gonna come out. But other people have access to that
Mhm.
computer as well, especially as you're growing up in life. Your parents and, all of the authority figures in your life, your teachers, your clergy, sometimes your friends, aunts and uncles, people, they all have access to it. And they have access to it in such a way that you don't even have up to a certain age in your life,
Mhm.
up until you're about 6 or 7 years old. You don't even have any ability to rationalize or think critically. And so everything that you hear goes straight into your programming. And about a good 80% of who we become in life is all established right there before we're even 6 years old, before
Wow.
we're even like aware, like we didn't even have any choice.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow. So let's talk about visualization. How can someone use visualization to create the life that they want?
That's a really good question. So visualization is so much more powerful than a lot of people might realize. And visualization, so it's making pictures, it's making images in your mind. And typically, before you even would use visualization, you would want to come up with what it is that you'd like to create in your life. So say you want to let's say you're working on creating your dream home, kind of like I had created here. And so you imagine what it is that you ultimately want. You get very specific about it. I want a 5 bedroom house with a pool in the backyard and so many square feet, and it's upstairs, downstairs, and you really get clear on what you want. And then each day, after you've gotten clear and you get this kind of script, I kind of recommend people actually write down like a visualization script, and you imagine in all of the senses, not just with your visual imagination, but also with your auditory imagination. Like, what would you be hearing? What would what would people be saying? What would you be thinking? Like all of the all of your senses. What would you be feeling? So you would want to imagine, it's like, oh, I'd be excited. I'd be jumping up and down. I would be shaking the realtor's hand. I'd be walking through and going, I just love this room over here. And so you just imagine all of the things that lead up to it. You imagine yourself in it. And so, like, one of the things that I did to get into this house, I just would imagine walking through and saying, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing place." And then I'd literally just imagine just sitting out in the backyard, with, by the fire pit, with my friends, toasting to champagne. And just, that was like sort of the scene that I would just play over and over again. I would see the waterfall of the pool in the backyard. Now I'm gonna say, actually, I manifested the house, and even though I was visualizing the pool. We don't have a pool. We have everything except for the pool, so the pool is coming. The pool is definitely on its way, but this house is, like, even better than any of the houses that I imagined. I mean, it's an amazing house. So, you just create a script, you, consistently, and what's happening, the reason why this works so well is because the subconscious mind, it really thinks in pictures, and it really responds to feelings. Feelings are what make those pictures real. And the subconscious mind does not know the difference between something that you imagine and something that's actually happened. So when you have pictured something in your mind so many times, it has to make it real in order for it to make sense. That's how it works. And it unfortunately, it also can work in reverse. It can work, if you're imagining, like, oh my God, I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna, da da da. All of that stuff is gonna happen as well. So, fortunately, it does, the power of positive thoughts are much, much stronger than the power of negative thoughts. So more than likely, as you are thinking about the positive things, and you get excited about those things, you're going to be able to bring that about. You're going to receive ideas. Things are going to happen. You're going to draw in the people, the situations, the circumstances that's going to bring that into, help you to bring that into reality.
Wow.
It's
So
not
that,
like the house is just gonna fall from the sky. You know, what will happen are, situations will arise that may be seemingly out of the blue, but you've called those in, and you're that much more ready and prepared for those situations. In our case, it was our landlord that needed to take their house back way before we even were ready. So we weren't even, like, thinking, like, the house was way out in the future.
Mhm.
In my mind, we didn't I didn't think we were ready yet, but y the universe knew that, interest rates are about to go up, housing prices are about to go up, you need to be ready now. And, so luckily, our landlord, needed his house back, and we were not quite ready, to take action, but we got ready and we manifested it.
So would you say that manifestation and visualization, do they work together, or can you do one and don't do the other? Can you manifest something by just speaking but don't visualize it? Would that
Mm,
still
that's
come to you? Would that
That's
still
a
come
really
to
good
you?
they work hand in hand very much.
Mhm.
You could possibly do something and not visualize it, but you at least need the feeling to be there. So some people are not as visual, and some people are, are typically stronger in either visualizing, like seeing images, or visualizing, and all three things are really called visualization. So visualizing meaning hearing things, or visualizing meaning feeling it. So you're still visualizing if you get a strong feeling about something. So if you're
Mhm.
saying, like, affirmations,
Mhm.
or going into hypnosis even, and just listening to the words and allowing those words to sink in, when those words sink in, they're gonna cause a feeling to happen. And so typically you're gonna need one of these three senses to be, happening in order for that to manifest. You're gonna need either to be, really strongly hearing something over and over in your mind that this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, I'm creating this. Or you're going to need to be seeing it, or you're going to need to be feeling it. And the more of these senses you can incorporate all together, the
Mhm.
more powerfully and the more quickly manifestation works.
Wow. So does that work for everybody, or is there a specific time of the day that is the best time to visualize or to manifest the things that you want in life?
There actually is. I would say the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, even before you get out of bed or do anything else, would be just to lay there and to take advantage of the state of mind that you're already in. Because when you first wake up, you're still kind of in that little dreamy like state, you're sort of in a hypnotic state. And so you have more access to programming your subconscious mind when you first wake up in the morning. Once you get up and you start moving around and everything, that kind of goes away. It's really similar to, like, how when you first wake up in the morning and you're aware of all your dreams and you're like, oh my God, but then later on, you're like, I had this dream, but I can't remember what it was. That's because you're communicating with your subconscious mind. And so when you first wake up in the morning, that is one of the best times to start your manifestation routine. And the other time would be as you're drifting off to sleep at night, because it's kind of the same thing. The last thing that you're thinking about or visualizing or talking about is usually going to get worked on throughout the night while you're sleeping by your subconscious mind. So that would be the second highest priority time. I mean, you can really do it any time of the day, but those are the two most powerful times because you're so close to getting in touch with the subconscious mind.
Excellent. Wow. So what is the law of attraction and how can the listeners get a hold of that?
Yeah. So the law of attraction is really about saying it's whatever you are focused on predominantly is typically what you bring about into your life. So it's like, it's really a fancy way of saying like energy
Mhm.
attracts like energy. So it all has to do with you being in a state with, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and being all in alignment with those things, that everything's basically speaking and heading in the direction toward what you want, what you desire. And, having a strong desire is also really essential for manifestation and law of attraction, because ultimately, the stronger your desire, the more motivated you're going to be to take the actions on it. A lot of times people will say, oh, I kind of want this, or I kind of want that. And then they'll, maybe work toward it just a little bit, but then, maybe they don't have the strong enough desire to really stay with it, or they're not really clear on exactly what it is they want. So having that clarity is also really key to making this work. But essentially, law of attraction is like attracts like energy attracts like energy. And, what you focus on is typically what you end up creating.
Some people would say, Victoria, that I have been visualizing that I want this house for years,
Mhm.
but the person doesn't have a job, but they've been visualizing for years that they want this job. So does
Yeah.
visualization go with discipline?
It definitely does. There's definitely some discipline because, and when I say discipline, I'm thinking in terms of how consistent you are with doing your visualizations each day. Not allowing so, you know, they'll visualize every
Mhm.
day, but then they'll go and they'll talk to their friend about, I've been doing this visualization every day and it's just not working. And or did you hear about the news? Did you hear about how the economy is so bad right now? It's so hard to get a job right now. Everyone, is out of work or and so they'll be complaining and they'll be creating. So whatever you're talking about at any time, you're creating that. You're putting that energy out there to attract more of the same. And so that's really one of the reasons where people kind of fail at using visualization and law of attraction to work is because they're sort of talking out both ends of their mouths. It's like on the one hand, it's like, I'm creating this, da, 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 da. But on the other hand, they're talking about the reality that
Mhm.
they're experiencing right now. And you really have to be able to suspend reality. You got to transcend where you are right now and for a long enough period of time, for a sustained period of time, for that to really take hold. Because if you keep being in this reality and you keep saying this is what's real though, this is what's real, then that's what you're saying to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is responding to our feelings that we have about this situation, what we're saying about this situation, and that we continue to keep visualizing and perpetuating the same situation over and over. We've got to suspend that reality and go beyond it. And that's not as easy to do as it is to say. It's definitely that takes work, and that's where the discipline really takes.
So what is the process? How is the process of creating powerful affirmations, and does that work for everybody, or does it work for just a certain amount of people, or a certain people who are just rich? How does that work?
Well, okay, so yeah, I think there are some people who just got rich, because they came out of the womb of a rich person, luckily, right? They were born into royalty, and there are lucky people. There are people that are just naturally, like, maybe they won the lottery, or maybe they were born into a rich family, or maybe they became a, singer and actor, and that's like the rare, people. Most people that come into, their financial being, worked in some capacity to manifest that. They came up with an idea and they worked toward that idea. So when it comes to making affirmations,
Mhm,
affirmations so affirmations are, statements that affirm something is happening in this moment. And the way I recommend making them is, first think of a goal that these affirmations are to achieve.
mhm,
Let's just continue to work with the manifesting your dream job or your dream house, something along that line. And so imagine what it is that you want. Now, taking a step back from there is you want to ask yourself, why do I want that? What is that ultimately going to do for me? And that is usually some sort of a feeling or a state that you want. Everything that we want, ultimately, the reason why we want it is because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. It's going to make us feel relaxed, peaceful, happy, at ease, um, powerful, accomplished, whatever it is. I mean, there's a feeling that you're ultimately looking for. And the key to making law of attraction and manifestation work is
mhm,
to feel that way now.
mhm,
Okay. So the affirmations, what those are designed to help you to feel that way. So they're really not about affirming necessarily the thing that you want. They're
mhm,
really about whatever those words need to have you feel the way that you want to feel. So, it could be just like, I feel so grateful that I am stepping into this new position that is just right for me. I mean, and so you think about like, how does that make you feel? And that will tell you if that is a strong enough affirmation. You want your affirmations to be strong enough that they're going to lift you from, those moments where it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to believe. Sometimes, you get stuck. Sometimes things have been this way for an awfully long time and you just need something to kind of pull yourself out of that funk. And
Mhm.
so that's what affirmations are really designed to do. I mean, they're designed to, even if you're not in that funk, just to have something to continue to they do program the mind if repeated often enough.
Mhm.
So having that, ability to program the mind with what you want, having that ability to maintain a state of mind, a state of positivity, and also have the ability to pull you out of those moments where,
Mhm.
kind of feels a little bit like, oh gosh, this is taking forever. I really, really need this to
Mhm.
really need this to happen right now. And so that, that kind of gives you. And another way that you can do affirmations, one other thing is that when you catch yourself saying a negative thought, whenever you catch yourself speaking a negative thought, number one, you want to, catch yourself and not say it anymore. But number two, you want to take that as an opportunity, as that is a thought that you need to convert into a positive affirmation. So you just take the opposite of that and turn it into a statement that is true, believable, that you can, use to pull you out of thinking that way anymore.
Okay. So would you say the affirmation should be in the present tense? Would that make it a little bit more real for the subconscious mind?
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Okay.
because everything's happening right now anyway. So let's just say that you're looking for that ideal job and you feel like you've been just at this a long time and it's like and so you're saying to yourself like it just seems like nothing is coming. And so a believable affirmation might be something like um the right position is open and available for me right now.
Okay.
The right position, something along that line. That is, it's
Mhm.
present,
Mhm.
it's believable.
Mhm.
It's, so and then you can also say, I am in the process of finding the right position for
Mhm.
for me. And there's just so many different ways, to say those affirmations that make them, you want to make them positive, you want
Mhm.
to make them present, um like, and when I say positive, the mind always, thinks very literally.
Mhm.
So it doesn't know the words like don't, not, no. So it's like you don't want to say anything like, I'm never going to have a bad job again, right?
Mhm.
Because all you're thinking of is bad job. So you want to reframe that into, I am I am available. I am ready and available for the right job now. And that,
Mhm.
you're calling that into existence and I'm ready and available for the right job now. And I'm so happy and grateful that the right job is being created for me right now.
Nice. So how often should somebody say the affirmations? For instance, if somebody has 10 affirmations and they're saying it every day, how long would it take the subconscious mind to kind of soak that in as a sponge? How long does it take?
Now, how long does it take is probably the most commonly asked question I get when it comes to any of this. And
Okay.
how long it takes is so dependent on so many different factors.
Mhm,
Number one, it depends on how far away are you from that goal. How far away are your beliefs from that goal? So like literally physically, but also how far away do you believe that you are? And how badly do you want that? So those are three major factors that can really determine, and then as far as frequency goes, I say as frequent as you can do it
mhm,
where you're able to do it in a high vibration.
mm.
So when you say your affirmations, you don't want to be like, the right job is out there for me. I just know it. The right job is coming. It's
That's no
happening. I
confidence.
right? There's no confidence in that. There's no sincerity in that.
Yeah.
There's no belief in that. There's no power in that. So now, to really, be powerful with it, it takes something. It actually, so when you do your affirmations, you really want to have some intention and you want to be smiling. You want to be like, really, really, really getting yourself amped up, really getting yourself into like the a high vibe.
Mhm,
And that can be a little hard to like authentically
mhm,
maintain. So it doesn't take, it's not so much about the number of repetitions, it's
mhm,
about how powerful those repetitions are when you say them.
mhm.
Because, one affirmation said in the right way can be 10 times more powerful than, and saying 100 affirmations in a low vibe.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember listening to, I think it's Tony Robbins.
Uh-huh.
And he was talking about that, how he was saying his affirmations, and he said he was driving in California, and he was saying it so intensely that people might be thinking he was going crazy driving. That's how intense it was.
Yeah, I find honestly when I do mine, because I do affirmations, and so I find like I will go out in nature. So we have this beautiful scenery around here in Arizona where I live. There's literally hiking trails like a block down the street, and I will go up this mountain, and it's not really a lot of people, thank goodness,
Mhm,
because I go up there and that is like my mountain. And I am saying these things like to the cactus and the trees all around me. I'm like, oh, and I get very expressive with it. And so because that just really allows me to like really feel it. And there's just so many different things you can do. You can find your favorite song and you could change the words to your favorite song because music
mhm,
really does something to the spirit. It really evokes that deep emotion.
mhm,
And, you could just think of like some of the songs from, I don't know, The Sound of Music or The Greatest Showman or whatever. And, some of the really high vibe, but you could just change the words to your affirmations. And then, like, so in a 3-minute song, you could
mhm,
say your affirmation, but you could sing it. Just putting some physicality into it, putting some energy into it really, really helps fire things up.
that is nice. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so my main book is called Practical Law of Attraction. And the book is all about, goes through multiple different sections on manifesting. So we talk about the different levels of mind, the conscious, the subconscious, the superconscious. We talk about, hypnosis and self-hypnosis and meditation and affirmations, all the different techniques. But the main thing what the book is about are these 8 manifesting conditions, all the conditions that are needed to bring your manifestation to reality. And so we've kind of touched upon some of those during this conversation. So they are desire, having a very clear, specific desire,
Mhm.
having your thoughts in alignment with what you do want, with rather than what you don't want, using the power of your imagination to really evoke the subconscious mind and get those beliefs steady in place, dealing with your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, that is, and creating new empowering beliefs that are going to help you with that manifesting. So those are the first 4. Then you have your vibration. Your vibration needs to be in alignment. If you're just kind of moping along, even if you believe something but you're
Mhm.
just in a low vibe about it, it's like that it's not enough manifesting power to just believe. And so you've got to feel it. And then the 6th one is the creative attraction. That's working with source energy, that's working with the creative power to bring you ideas and intuition and information on, how this is going to come about. It's like the co-creating part. And then the 7th is all about you taking inspired action, inspired by typically, those ideas.
Mhm.
And rather than taking forced actions, like sometimes, people will they'll come up with their game plan. They'll write down, well, let's see, how do I do this? Well, I need to, take these actions every day, but they're not really inspired. They're just kind of forced. They're like what somebody else maybe told you, this is what you have to do, the have tos. And finally, number 8 is the manifestation itself. And it's all about celebrating the manifestations, acknowledging them, being grateful for them, and also taking ownership, owning that this is something I created, whether it's something you created that you do want or something you created that you didn't necessarily want. Owning it all, because even the things that we've created in our lives that we don't necessarily want, um, when we take responsibility for having created things already, then that puts us in a more empowering position to say, hey, if I created this, then what else could I create? And, and it just says, like I'm powerful. Maybe I've created things I didn't want, and that's fine. Now we're going to start to now if I could create things I don't want, then I can create things I do want.
Mhm. That is true. So where can the listeners get a copy of your book or your books, all of your books?
Any of my books can be found on Amazon.com, or they can go directly to my website, victoriamgallagher.com, and there are links to Amazon directly there. And then, of course, there's the app and my courses and all of the other, things that have sprung up out of all the things that I do.
Sounds good, Victoria. Do you have any last words for the listeners or um, who are trying to reach their goals and who are trying to change their life around?
Absolutely. If you have an idea in your heart, if there is something that you have the inkling to do, then with that idea comes the seed to be able to fulfill that. You have the ability to achieve anything that you want beyond your wildest imagination. The key is that, you just have to believe it. You got to stick with it, and you will eventually, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year, a
Mhm.
lifetime, depending on what your goal is, you will manifest.
Imagine I've taken a lot of notes. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's
Yeah,
my pleasure.
I've learned quite a few things on this podcast, and Victoria, it was so nice having you on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Yes, it was so nice being here, and I'm so glad that I was able to, inspire you and share some of my wisdom and knowledge, and that I love teaching, and so I'm really glad that you and your audience, I know your audience will also learn from this as well. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're very welcome.